This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning. Welcome to the Sunrise Safari, coming to you live here from Djuma Private Game Reserve. It is a misty and overcast morning. It's not too cold, it's not too warm. It's a wonderful winter's morning with the transition of the seasons, and I am out heading over to a Pride of Lions. We've got Tswalu as well, who's going to go catch up with the Djuma clan. Mike is on bushwalk in Pride, and ROAN is out and about and beyond. DEIRDRE doing his thing on and beyond, and DEIRDRE Tswalu Kalahari. And on that note, we welcome you on board your live African safari. Good morning. Welcome everybody to the morning. My name is Steve, joined by Davisito on camera, and we are always excited to have you with us. It is a beautiful morning. Lions have already been found. I've just got to see whether they're actually on Sandy Patch Road or on Sandy Patch itself. What do you think, Darby? The tracks here of vehicles are indicating that somebody went directly, let's see, did they go straight? Sometimes it's nice to track. Looks like it's just over here. But if it's not here, it's up the road. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to send them through using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Throw them in on the YouTube chat stream using @FC. And if you're under the age of 18, send through an email to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or as always, you can go to the website, register there, post your questions on the live safari page. Okay. Thinking they were probably up the road there. This is Vuitela access, but some people loosely refer to this area as Sandy Patch, but the road itself to my right there was called Sandy Patch. Let's go back. So my plan this morning was to just have a little scratch around for some tracks and then take it from there. We were going to come towards the sort of west to have a look, and lo and behold, the radio announced looking for lions was the update, and I thought that meant that they were looking for lions, and actually it was a question posed to me whether I was looking for lions. And I said, where are you working? They said, Sandy Patch. I said, confirm you have tracks? They said, we have the lions. So always nice to start the day off like that. Off Vuitela access on to Sandy Patch Road. No doubt we'll probably just bump into them. Okay, well, it's an overcast day. It's going to be a little bit warm, but probably a bit colder later on. But let's go see what the weather looks like across all properties. Morning everyone, and welcome to your morning safari. You are on and beyond Ngala with me, ROAN, and Mpo behind the camera. So yesterday afternoon we were following two young male lions, just two sub-adults, and they were contact calling looking for the rest of their pride, and so we left them on the tar road heading south. But then it turns out they turned around, they actually walked past tented camp, so we had their trucks right outside camp, and they were coming in this direction. So
our plan for the morning is to actually go check whether they joined up with the rest of the Birmingham Pride, and what we'll do again is head south down Spring Valley. We've stopped here for a little while just to see if we can hear any contact calling, but so far it's been rather quiet. The only thing we found is one white-backed vulture sitting on top of that dead tree there. The second one actually flew off. But now this doesn't mean there's a carcass in that area. Especially on a cloudy day like today, they'll find a dead tree and they'll just basically sit there and wait for warmer air. Thermals together, and then they can actually go fly around. So this one's just warming up, or trying to warm up. I think soon enough the clouds should lift. Probably not in the next hour or so, but hopefully sun comes out and it burns it away, and this poor vulture can go look for any food to scavenge while we look for our lions. So far there's nothing on this road apart from a lot of hyena tracks going in the opposite direction. When I say a lot, probably 3 or 4 animals. But we didn't actually get any noises coming from camp. No hyenas fighting over a carcass or anything like that. So yeah, we're going to stick to our plan and head further south, see if we can find the rest of the Birmingham Pride. It was a rather quiet night. Some crested francolin on the road. I think I just ruined their morning every morning. So it's one way of warming up. So, while we look for our lions, we're going to send you back over to Steve and see if he found any lion tracks.
Thanks, ROAN. Well, we haven't found any lion tracks. We might still look for some a bit later, but there's no real point in looking for lion tracks when you found the lions. So we're in the northern reaches of Sandy Patch. This road, Sandy Patch, basically links Voetele access to Buffelshoek boundary, close to Sydney's dam. And a couple of these lionesses were found in Buffelshoek yesterday morning, close to Jacana, an area they like to hang out. There's some nice open areas there. Sandy Patch is also a nice open area. And this is an area they're frequenting quite regularly. They come through this open area. There's lots of habitat for impala, wildebeest. And they move through this area into the lower reaches of Sandy Patch and then through to quarantine. And we do find them doing that quite a lot. If you do recall, I think Lauren had a kill. Was it last week, Darby? Yep. Buffelshoek boundary towards Mvubu Dam. Telematis are definitely making themselves comfortable on Juma. Just before I left my last drive, we had the Nkuhuma Pride making a kill on quarantine, and well, we've had the Telematis doing exactly the same. There's open areas that are managed to be open due to the fact that vegetation and environments have changed in these areas over the last 60 years. Habitat managers go to great lengths to keep certain habitats open, otherwise all of these areas would be very densely overcrowded with trees. Darcy Miller, yes, it's the best roadblock. They don't care, they're not going anywhere. They find it quite comfortable on the road. So the first vehicle years ago to go on a game drive would have noticed that they kept finding animals in the road. They would have thought, oh, this is fantastic. And then they probably decided, well, let's put a tracker on the front seat. That must have been quite a novel thing. First time someone sat on the front of a car looking down at the ground with these carnivores and all the others that move around. And it's become very common practice now to have a game vehicle with a number of seats on the back, tracker in the front, to be looking at the road to find these fellows. Okay, well, it sounds like Devalt's having a little bit of a lion morning himself. Let's go see who he's found.
very good morning and a successful morning on Pinda so long. Sounds like everyone has been pretty successful this morning, and we found some lions this morning, a lioness and 3 sub-adults. And look at this beautiful sunrise that's here in front of us as well. My name is Dewald, and behind the camera we've got Johan, and welcome to our safari this morning. You can see the lions are walking here behind us, and we are going to be following them for a little bit and seeing what they get up to. They were stalking some impalas earlier, the youngsters. There you can see Mom walking furthest away from us. She's just stopping and listening. And one of the sub-adult females behind. It is so nice and quiet this morning as well. Lots of birds waking up. One of the youngsters just gone and lie down. I wonder if it's waiting for its 2 sisters to catch up. Oh, there's another one coming into the frame now. So we did find them yesterday afternoon as well, but they were unfortunately in an area where we couldn't bring it to you live, and we came to look for them this morning. Found some very fresh tracks of them, and literally as we took the road where the tracks went onto, found them just a couple of meters away. I don't know if you can see how there's a bit of a glow starting to come onto the grasses now as the sun is poking over the clouds. See how the one lying down there, it's just picking its nose up every now and then, smelling maybe the air a little bit. The impalas were off to the left-hand side that they were trying to chase earlier. See how she's tasting the air, smelling it. And now needs to catch up with the rest of the pride. Still very inquisitive. Oh, look at that. Just about to disappear behind the bushes there. But while these, we're going to keep on going while these lions are moving off onto the airstrip up ahead of us and see what they get up to.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
And they're putting their heads here.
The guy at Mala Mala was chatting and he had his foot out like that. And it was smelling.
Apologies, there were some comms issues with Juma, and these lines have just reached the airstrip here in
Sorry guys, it seems like Pinda's having a few signal issues, but now you're back on and beyond Ngala, and so not too many updates. I think Rule, what he's done is actually check the quarry where we were last night, so we will carry on straight, see if the pride has come further in. If not, then loop back to the boundary. John, not too much to show just yet. It's strange when the weather changes. It's like the animal behavior also change. Because it's cloudy today, it might take a while for us to find anything. I think they're just more active. Although, like I said, this morning isn't really too cold. Because of the cloud, it kept the heat in. And I think as the morning progresses, it's not really going to get warm, so we might actually get a little bit colder later on. This is basically what we've been doing all morning. It's just chasing francolins around. So let's check this road. This takes us to a watering hole on the eastern boundary, known as Matambu Dam. Not the best road to track on. It's very hard ground, not really sandy. So we'll just keep our eyes open. Hopefully with the vehicle passing by, if there's a lion, a leopard, a wild dog or anything like that, they'll pop their head up to see what all the noise is about. So yeah. Let's to the eastern boundary, get lucky. It sounds like DEIRDRE will say to all of you, so we're going to send you to Tswalu.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu. You're with me, DEIRDRE, and on camera is BK. I'm just quickly going to focus to get up the dune because we're out on a mission in the dunes. Hold on tight, BK. This is a bouncy one. And there we go. So there's our morning view. We are still waiting for the sunshine. It is not as cold as yesterday, thankfully, but it's about 8 degrees. The birds have started calling. I don't know if there's a... Go that way, yeah. More. No. So, yeah, our plan at the moment is just to bumble a little bit, and then when the sun comes up, we'll see if we can get you a meerkat update. So we're going to go down the road and send you to Phinda with lions on the road.
John, we had tracks of a male leopard from early this morning last night at the junction, on North junction with Bushwillow this morning.
These lions have gone and lie down on the airstrip here. I think it's, Johan and I was just chatting now, and it's probably because it's maybe the tar is probably retaining the heat a little bit more from yesterday. So it was a relatively warm day, so I'm sure there's a bit of heat. But you can see how these two, the mom and the daughter, they're next to each other looking down the airstrip, because there's some impala and wildebeest far in the distance. It's just catching their eyes. There you can see the size difference between the mother and one of the daughters there. Actually, quite a beautiful picture of them next to each other like that. Mala, you are asking if these lions are looking for food. So, just to give you a bit of background, they actually caught a fairly young zebra, sorry. The ones with the stripes are zebras, right? They caught a fairly young zebra yesterday morning, and they were feeding on the carcass the whole day yesterday. So it looked like the youngsters earlier when they were walking around had like a little bit of like a round belly, but mom's belly wasn't looking as big as theirs. So they might not be very hungry and too keen to hunt, but they'll be opportunistic, and that's probably why they're showing a little bit of interest and looking and listening to those prey animals down the airstrip. Because even if they have full bellies, if the opportunity comes, they'll definitely try and take it. A bit of a yawn there from the one youngster. There's another yawn from the one in the back. And you can see the last one is further off to the left-hand side. There's youngsters listening and looking there into the thickets to the right. They're just turning towards us now. The one there next to Mum has just been yawning quite a few times now. So I reckon if we give it a moment, it doesn't look like these youngsters are really sleepy or anything, and they're all really looking around them, not really closing their eyes. See, looks like it wants to yawn again, that the youngster on the right hand side. Might find after a bit of yawning like that she might get up and move a little bit. Let's see what happens. Oh, even Mom yawning. See how much bigger Mom's teeth is compared to the youngsters as well. So the ears are just pointing forward and they're not taking any of their attention off of those wildebeests that are on the other side there. These lions are just keeping now on the wildebeest, like I said. But there's one right in the on the left-hand side. She is just looking in opposite directions. Actually, quite pretty how this female and her female cub is actually sitting next to each other. Perfect portrait of mom and daughter. Well, they heard something to the left-hand side there. Gavin, you're asking why these lions have black tips on the edges of their tail, on the tips of tails. So, oh, mom's up. She's getting a move on. So, many believe, and it is something to see when they actually communicate, and when lions are agitated, they whip their tails almost like onto the ground or so, and that's like a visual display of being antagonized or so. So yeah, I guess it's the black on the tip of the tail, and even behind the ears is something that you can see there. Is something that they might use as non-verbal communication, where ears go down, or the tails being known like quite a lot. Well, she's disappearing into the thickets there. There's another vehicle that wanted to come and have a look at the lions, and they might miss the opportunity if they go into the thickets there. Mom, she heard something. I don't know if you saw it. How to the thickets there, and then she just got up and went. Doesn't look like the youngsters are too phased. Real teenagers don't really care about where mom's going. The one there in the back. As we just found them, we saw the one had like quite a big gash or scar on her back leg, and I wondered if it's that one there that's trying to groom herself on her back leg there. Look how prominent those spots are on the back legs as well. Oh. So casual, like you're asking when we'll start calling these cubs sub-adults. Actually, they are sub-adults already. I would say from a year to about 2 to 2.5 years old, they're probably sub-adults. They're not really cubs anymore, hey? So these youngsters were born in the lockdown in South Africa in about March, or actually probably somewhere around January last year. So they're about a year and 4 months, 5 months old. So, yeah. They're definitely sub-adults, not cubs. Looks like that youngster's there is going to see where mom is. So have a look at that belly there. It has got something in it, but it's not as big as I've ever seen lions' bellies get from eating a lot. And I suppose it's because it was a relatively small zebra that they fed on. There's that gash on her leg. Look at that. That's what she was licking earlier. Whew, that looks quite big. Wow. I don't know if the microphone, there was a bird that was alarm calling in the distance. It sounded crested Franklin, and it was in the direction that the mom was walking, so that means that she's keeping on moving because that Franklin flew off, probably from her walking towards it. But these youngsters seem like they're going to get up soon as well. You can see the one in the back there keeping an eye on where mom and their sibling went. Might just hear another vehicle coming to join the site to see if something. But you might find that these youngsters, being like a year and a half, somewhere around there, a year and 5 months or so, they are probably getting a little bit more independent from their mother. They're still very dependent on her to hunt for them. They don't have their skills honed that much. But I reckon she will probably give them a bit of a contact call, so if she's looking for them or when she thinks that she's getting too far away from them. Anna Marie, you're asking which pride these lions are from. So just for identification purposes, we are in pretty much the middle of Phinda at the moment, middle southern part. So this is in the middle of the Mountain Pride territory. And I've identified this lioness earlier as one of the Mountain Pride lionesses. So yes, they are part of the Mountain Pride. And I'm hoping that they came into this area to look for the other lions. Because if this pride comes all together, they're just shy of 15 lions, which is incredible. But while we wait and see where these lions get to and where they are off to, hopefully they find the other lions, we're going to send you over to Ngala for a quick update.
So we're now just sitting at the same quarry where we were yesterday. Rule said earlier when he left camp he had lions roaring from somewhere in this direction. He said south and east of their position, which would take us to exactly where we are now, Deep Quarry. So we are just standing by. We're actually waiting to hear if we can hear any lions calling, but so far, no luck just yet. It's interesting to see the pride movements. It's like the white dot female has taken all the young males, the sub-adults, away and just showing them safe spots where they could go once the Ross males actually kick them out. But more interesting is it's quite a dangerous area because she's venturing into the territory for the red-road male, for the Orpin males, for the Mbiri males. I wonder, a very clever lioness that, to take them to all these spots. She must know what she's doing. So interesting that she isn't pregnant. So she's not mated with the Ross males, whereas the other two lionesses already gave birth. Very weird. Anyway, quite a nice little scene with the water and the darkish skies behind it. But we can't hear a single thing. No lions yet. So what we might do, sadly, for Mpho, is head back to the eastern boundary And then we have to go drive that very rocky section, follow that north, and see if the lions are anywhere closer to camp rather than further south, as we thought they might be. So sorry, Paul, I know I put you through it yesterday, and we'll have to do it again. I now have to chase another Franklin. No, this one turned off. Clever birdie. I was a Swainson spurfowl. They're the ones with the very red on their face. A lot of red on their faces. So while we do this, go back to the Eastern Boundary and the rocky section, Paul's favourite section. We'll send you over to Tswalu just for a quick update.
So we found some very cold looking sandgrass. It's a double-banded sandgrass. There's 3 of them there. See if you can spot the third one. That's 2. Male on the right with the band across the top of the nose or the beak, and then the band across the chest. Then the female with her back to us. Oh no, another male. Oh, Kalahari scrub robin wants to get in on the action. Good morning. So a slight little chilly breeze. So the sandgrass will also wait until they can warm up a little bit before moving on. I only see the one right in front of the one on the right hand side now. It just shows you how well their camouflage works. That's a female. So they sit still, hoping that you haven't seen them, staying well camouflaged. And the double-banded sandgrass are the ones that will fly to water in the evening. So if you're ever lost in the bush and you can identify a double-banded sandgrass, watch which direction they fly in at dusk, and they will take you to a waterhole. A little family of Kalahari scrub robins chasing each other around. They got a little bit more energy than most this morning. So that's another male. Critter Freak's comment is they are attractive birds. They are indeed very pretty with that little yellow eye ring and orange beak and the black and white patterning across the top of the head. Puffed out because they are still pretty cold. I'm sure they're just waiting for the morning sun. They normally stay hidden like that until the last second, and then they'll fly up, especially if they're in the roads or on the edges of the road. Normally you only flash them when you're driving right past them. Debbie is asking the question if the sandgrouse go to the waterholes to soak up water for the chicks. So yes, indeed they do, particularly the Namakwa sandgrouse. More amongst the males, but the females are also capable of doing it. The males will fly long distances to water and then dip their belly feathers in, and the feather is actually quite cleverly designed in that it's got almost like a spiral attachment, and that spiral will soak up the water almost like a kitchen towel, like a paper towel, and hold onto that water droplet, and then the male will fly back to the nest and the chicks will pull on those feathers and get the water from that. So only once the chicks are capable of flying themselves are they able to get to and from the water. So heavily reliant on the males. Sometimes also in the heat, the dipping of the belly feathers can also help cool the eggs on the nest as well if need be. So we get the 3 different species. This one in the picture is the double-banded sandgrouse. We also get the Namakwa sandgrouse and the Birchall's sandgrouse. Very short little legs as well. That don't. It's pretty close to the ground. So as you could see earlier, the sun's not up yet, so meerkat's also not up just yet. We'll carry on driving down the road, see if we can find anything else, but some real wispy clouds. So we're going to send you now to Mike, who wants to say good morning at Pridelands.
Certainly is a good morning. Thank you, Deirdre. It's cool, it's cloudy, there's a little bit of a breeze. There's a big cold front that has passed us over the night. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Glenn, and this is Ecotraining's Pridelands Conservancy, where you are live on a bushwalk in the African safari, in the nature, in the wilderness, and we're walking up the road to find signal today. Because of these clouds, the signal's a bit funny. But we came across some of this stuff. And for those of you who've been watching, this stuff is soapstone. It's a really cool rock that we have here in abundance on Pridelands. And those of you watching saw that I carved a while back a couple of statuettes. Trying to see if I could maybe start a new career. It didn't work out so well for me, unfortunately. But just to show you how soft this rock is, this is my Leatherman. It's a very simple file. And you can see when I do this, how much of that rock just crumbles off there. It's a super, super soft rock. One of the very softest rocks that we know in nature. Now, this is very similar to something that you'll get baby powder, right? So you can see when I put it in my finger, you can see how fine that powder is. It really coats that. You can see my fingerprint really, really easily there. So it's really good for lubricating, actually. I mean, it doesn't seem like you could use it as a lubricant, but it makes your fingers very smooth and it soaks up any sweat. So climbers often use stuff like this to keep their fingers nice and dry. It soaks up all that stuff. But this is not a very high quality soapstone. It's filled with all sorts of grains. I don't know if you can see in there. You can see that it's knobbly. It's not smooth. There's lots of different other types of minerals and rocks in here which stop it from being very high quality soapstone. But you can carve it. You can make small things out of it. And it's abundant here, which is really great. It's a very dense rock, very heavy, but very soft and powdery. And it seems to form veins through the bushveld. And I've yet to figure out what type of plants are associated with the areas that have lots of this soapstone. But it'll be interesting if I keep a lookout. I'm still waiting to see if I can find some small... If you know of Zimbabwe, there's those great Zimbabwe birds, very famous statues. I wonder if we'll find the great birds of Pridelands around here. But anyway, I digress. I'm talking nonsense. We are going to be heading up this slope here into the higher areas to try and see what else we can find. Hi, Jeff. Nice to have you on the show. Jeff, I don't know when soapstone was first discovered in this area, but it's been used for probably thousands and thousands of years for all sorts of purposes. On Pride lands here, we actually have found soapstone rocks like this, much larger ones that have been ground down with harder stones to make basins inside. Now, this area here, Pride lands, and any areas that are close to drainage lines and rivers, tend to accumulate minerals, and one of the minerals that they accumulate a lot, Jeff, is salt. And salt is a very, very important mineral because it helps to preserve meat and skins, which people would have used a lot in the old days when they needed shelter, when they needed clothing, protection from the elements, and of course food. And so they take those bowls that have been created. The rock is too soft to grind things like maize in, but they would put water in those nice basins that they'd made, leave them out in the sun to warm up, and when the water evaporates, it leaves behind a salt crust that they could then carefully scrape off. And if you evaporate enough water in there, you can collect a lot of salt. I think we showed you about a week ago a salt lick that's here on Pride lands, or maybe a little bit longer ago, where you can actually see the salt crystals coming out of the ground, which is fantastic. So, Jeff, I don't know how long, but a long time and very useful stuff. But in the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Rowan at Ngala.
Thank you, Mikey. We are on the eastern boundary, actually heading north now. We're just north of where we left the two males last night, and they crossed over. So it's actually quite likely that the Pride is in the Manyaleti. But the thing is, we're not going to obsess about finding them. So we'll change our plan a little bit. Maybe go look for one of the Ross males, or see if we can find a lioness with the youngsters, or the two lioness with the 5 youngsters. Any pocket of Birmingham Pride. Actually, we'll settle for anything at this stage. So yeah, we're going to head further north, go back towards the Timbavati River and actually drive the river a little bit and see what we happen across. But I've got this feeling that this section of Birmingham Pride isn't on Ngala today. Saying that, I mean, as you can see, you can barely see the road here. So if they did cross in, you're not going to see any of their tracks. This is a bit of a tough one. So yeah, that's what we're trying to follow. Quite a dim 2-track. And dodging rocks within that as well. Lisa, again, I don't think there's a steadfast rule to when they're going to start breaking away. With the Birmingham Pride, what happened is that you have cubs of varying ages. So now we've got sub-adults, 8 of them, and then 5 cubs. So if they do feed on the same carcass, of course, the cubs can't contend with the sub-adults because there's a 2.5-year age difference. So they just can't fight their way through to any point of the carcass. So now the 2 lionesses have split off with their cubs, and the lioness with the sub-adult, she split off. And then you've got a different lioness with her 2 youngsters that are only 13 months old, so basically 1.5 years younger than the sub-adults, and she split off into one side. So no, it's going to be interesting to see what happens once the 5 cubs are older. Maybe they'll join up with the 1 lioness and the 13-month-olds. But for now, the Birmingham Pride's basically split into 3 groups. I can't say there's a certain or definite point where they just split off as a breakaway pride. Yeah, I don't think there's a definite rule to it. Sorry, Lisa. Can't give you a definite answer for that either. Mind you, if they were all together, it would be 23 lions, and that's considered a super pride. So, of course, for that to happen, big rock, they'll need to kill big things, and a lot of it. Buffalo, giraffe, just to feed all of them. It also makes life a little bit tougher for the older lionesses. I must add, the sub-adults will definitely, carry their weight in hunting now, especially stalking. We saw the one male stalking impala yesterday, very unsuccessfully, I might add. He needs still needs a lot of work, but they'll get there. So the Birmingham young male, I mean, he was found on an impala carcass about a week ago. So he's almost crossed that boundary now where he knows, oh wait, I can hunt for myself. And we're hoping that this will actually take him out of Rossmount territory and finally the guy can leave the house. So I think they just need to boost their confidence like that. Roan asking, why do lions in captivity have bigger manes than the lions in the wild? I think a lot of it has to do with genes. I mean, you get some lions in the wild with magnificent, huge manes. But then also, I mean, remember, lions in the wild, they fight a lot. And, you know, they're not really in conditions where their hair just grows perfectly. Out here, they're hunting, walking through bushes, they'll leave hair just on trees and stuff like that, or fighting with other lions over carcasses, or other males over territory. They often grow for the neck, or they'll scratch each other and also lose hair. It's all to do with circumstances. Lions in captivity are very well groomed. So also, when you see these photos of lions where it's just the most magnificent animals, but always look at the nose. If there are no scars, it would be a lion in captivity versus a lion out here in the wild. Even our sub-adults, they've got so many scars on their faces already. You can see they've had a wild upbringing. So Nikki and Roo are still looking for this pride out down in the south, but it doesn't seem like they've found any fresh tracks. Kelly saying Ngala is such a beautiful and lush landscape. I agree. I must add that this is the thickest I've ever seen Ngala in my time here, and it's due to the rain. Literally, we had double the amount of rain we usually have in a year, so I think that adds to it. However, it does make it quite a bit harder to find animals, especially leopards. What we've noticed is that the leopards here aren't really hoisting their carcasses at this stage because there's ample space for them to just hide it underneath a tree rather than take all their energy and take it up a tree. So they'd be able to just stash an impala carcass or bushbuck carcass or any carcass underneath a tree in very thick vegetation, doesn't attract the attention of vultures, and they don't need to hoist it, which of course takes a lot of energy. So even though it looks beautiful, it makes the job just a bit more difficult. Oh, Paul, hold on, yeah? Okay, so while we head off in the direction of the Timbavati River, see what else we can find, we'll send you to DEIRDRE on Tswalu.
So welcome back to Tswalu. We have a little family of jackals. Looks like 2 adults and 1 youngster. And one of them had food in its mouth. So the other 2 have been trying to get it from them. But I can't see. I think they might have dropped it or eaten it. It was something really small. They're busy trotting probably back to home. A family of little black-backed jackal. So they will forage as a family, a couple of them, as long as they're within their territory. What do you want, BK? I can go forward. Okay. Just past this little grey camel thorn. Oh, beautiful. They're in such gorgeous light there. So you're seeing some nice little family greetings. You might see some interesting behaviour. it seems like whatever the one had to eat has been eaten, but definitely didn't want to share. So there's the pup just ran off. It would be last year's pup. And it's known that the youngsters will stay at least a year with the adults and very often help the adults raise the next set of pups. And by doing that, they themselves then gain parenting skills. Just a quick trot. Off they go. Let me carry on down the road. Maybe we'll get another view of them. Got a nice open clearing coming up here. We should get them nicely from here, BK. There we go, standing in the sun. Beautiful. You really can see the colours nicely now in the daytime. So that's the one in the front, the other two are just behind. Here they come. That might be our last view of them. We'll keep trying, but the bush is getting a little bit thicker there at the back. Provided they keep going in the same direction, we should be able to get you another view. No, there they've gone into the thicket, so that's them gone for now.
We all have a busy schedule and a lifestyle which is confined to stress and tensions. For so many of us, the hustle and bustle of a tedious life has meant we have lost our inner peace. Traveling is an ultimate remedy that lets us unwind and helps us experience peace in the lap of nature. Wild Earth encourages the benefits of travel by giving away an amazing prize every month.
I was totally overwhelmed to receive this fantastic prize of 3 nights at Tswalu. Wild Earth has been a lifesaver for us during the pandemic and has kept us sane. Thank you so very much, Wild Earth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying and has been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catchers on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
I love being a cam op for Wild Earth. the animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Okay, what I'm doing here is trying to decipher some information. This is the scent mark of some sort of animal, and as you can see, it's only half a shin high off the ground on this dead stump close to what was probably a wallow of some sort in the wet season. But it's really incredible. I wish you could smell it. It smells like a combination of honey and some sort of very just hint of perfume of some sort. Now, I don't know what animal could make this, but judging by the height, it's got to be something like a mongoose, a honey badger, a civet maybe, something like that. It's not a big animal. It wouldn't have been a hyena, I don't think, and leopard scent smells a bit different, and it wouldn't have made these little... This looks like pasting to me. So it'd be interesting to ask, maybe I'll send this one out to the other guides. Does any one of them know what animal makes a scent mark roughly, 40 centimeters off the ground that smells like honey and perfume? I know that civets historically were used often in the perfume industry. They've got a chemical substance in their scent mark or in their anal gland that's called civetone that is also put on their paste marks and their scent marks, which was used as a binding agent in perfumes because it helps the smell of the perfume stay a lot longer. So civetone was harvested a lot in the old days. It's not used so much anymore. It's replaced with synthetic man-made substances, which is actually much better because to harvest it, I think, is not a very nice process for the civet. But it's very interesting. I've walked past this before, and I just still have not been able to find conclusive evidence of what this could be. But you can see it's been doing it a lot. There are plenty of scent marks, and you can see from older ones on this side over here, you can see almost dry scent mark pastings even down here, to ones that are very fresh just over here. And that's literally always more or less at the same height. And I would say this is probably the height of where the base of the tail would be for the animal. So it really would be something like a civet. But I've never seen it before. This is the most clear scent marking I've seen of any animal really of this size, which is super great. So yes, please, to the other guides, anyone know what animal makes a scent mark that smells like honey? Or even any of you viewers at home, if you've maybe done a bit of research, seen something like this before, would love to hear your comments or questions, of course. If any of you are under 18, please don't forget to send your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Very interesting to know what animal, and it must be something that walks along this road. Unfortunately, because of the nature of this area, which was a wallow of some sort, the ground is mostly still very hard. Maybe a bit later in the season, when it's drier and more animals have walked here, we might be able to see some footprints, some sign of what animal has been coming here. But at the moment, it's still very hard. I can't see a single track anywhere around here, which would indicate what this was. No, it's definitely not a buffalo, not a rhino, that's for sure. Who knows? Although this has been used in the past by another animal. I mean, we can actually see here, I'm in the sun a little bit, got the way. I can actually see here that some animal has been rubbing itself against here, probably a larger one. A buffalo coming past here would definitely be able to rub its belly on this thing. Much more so when it was still very muddy. Just trying to see if there's anything this side. Nothing at all that I can see. It's a mystery. A whodunit, some might say. There's a dung pellet over here. This looks more like a bird, though. I don't see that this would be... Let's break this open and have a look inside. So bird pellets often look like this. Combination of uric acid, this white stuff, and then the darker material, which was whatever it ate. I can't see anything that looks like insect material, and I don't know if birds make a scent mark, so to speak. Some birds might have a scent, but they don't scent mark itself. Well, while we think about the other things that this could be, we'll send you over to Deirdre at Tswalu.
So, I like Mike's puzzle. It's always interesting. That's one of my favorite parts about tracking, is the who was where when. Judging by his description, I would also say a African civet. They are known to even sort of lift up their back legs and scent mark using their anal gland. And it almost looks like a funny jelly on the actual scent mark. So obviously I'm driving, I can't see what exactly Mike's got, but I do remember that from assessments, the senior assessments on tracking, that that's a sign of a civet. We've got some eland, quite all over the base of the dune there. Sorry, BK, can you see them over the top of the tree there? I think we got them. We'll just see if you can see them there. There's some eland on the base of the dune. A small little group. Well, I say small, I can see 5. But that doesn't mean there aren't more grazing at the bottom. I think they'd also be enjoying the sun at this point. No, those are bird nests, BK. go left. Yeah, there we go. They are very, very far away. We just see them as shapes. So at this distance, looks like mostly females, or a young male on the left there. Funny, we are far away, but they noticed us coming up and over the dune. So immediately we got their attention. Frank is asking the question, how do you tell the difference between a male and a female eland? So you have a look at the horns. They both do have horns, but the males tend to be very thick at the base, wider apart, and tend to be a bit shorter. And then the females, the horns are longer and thinner and slightly closer together. So a cow on the left, the one that's moving now, and then the one a little bit closer to the front of the screen on the left looks like a young male. That one's standing nice and still too. There's a little... Oh, and he's actually staying there. Morning, chirpy chap. He's trying to balance in the wind. He's answering. Hold on tight. The wind's blowing him around a little bit.
BK, what is the smallest bird in South Africa? For me, what's the smallest bird in South Africa?
There's a question from BK that's asking what is the smallest bird in South Africa. Is known as the Cape Penduline tit. They're literally less than 8 centimeters in size, so really, really tiny. And they make a little cotton wool type of nest with a tiny little false entrance and then a nice little entrance to go and stay nice and warm. We do get them here. Let's head on up and into the up and into the dunes and see what else we can find. We're heading towards the rock stars, hoping that they're up. They should be by now. The sun is shining. With this little breeze though, the rock stars are generally, as a group of meerkats, one of the later risers out of all 3 of the groups. And they don't tend to go foraging too quickly. So we're going to send you across to Ngala for their little bumble.
So we are on a bumble now and gonna head. It's an ostrich. Not really something we see too often. There are 2 ostriches. 2 males. One just dipped his head. There we go. So, we don't really see ostrich too often on Ngala, but when we do see them, it's usually in this area. A little bit further south, big clearings where they can run. But this reminded me, while we were looking for lions and now we found ostrich, the one time we had an ostrich actually walk towards the Birmingham Pride and all the lions ran away. They did not know what to do, these ostriches. They're a really big bird. Very thankful they don't fly. If that poo had to land on your head while you're driving, knock you out. We'll just go a slight bit forward. We have literally 1 tree in our way. There we go, should be better. Looks like that other male is creeping up on him. So apparently Mike posed a question, which animal scent marks and the smell is perfume-like and honey-like and 40 centimeter above the ground. And I'll be honest, I never, ever, ever smelled any good scent mark. Like, nothing smells honey-like that I've ever smelled. So I don't know, Mikey. It's a good question. I think Paul and myself will debate it for a little while. I was even trying to measure 40 centimeter above the ground. So I'm actually quite excited to see what the answer is. And then we'll see if we agree or disagree on the smell. It's actually very cool. The one facing this way, the other one facing that way, and the 2 necks right behind one another. Like the one on the right wants to steal the other one's food. Kimberly, you are absolutely right. Very, very, very cool to see. Actually, quite cool to see 2 males together as well. The last time, we used to find ostrich also not too far from the eastern boundary. The one female managed to raise 10 chicks. She had 11 ostriches all following one another. It was actually very, very, very cool. So this bird probably stands up to about 2 meters, so quite tall, and weighs about 100 kilograms. So also nearly considered dangerous game if you do walk into them on foot. Of course, the claws, the feet can do a lot of damage. But yeah, we haven't seen a female ostrich on Ngala for quite some time. Always keep finding males. Love to see them run. It was kind of looks so weird. Running on 2 legs, and you don't really have hands to balance yourself. You just see the feathers shaking. One is on quite high alert. Julia's asking what the main predator for an ostrich would be. It would be anything from hyena, leopard, lion, cheetah. So all of them would actually prey on ostrich here. That's why you'll see, they'll feed for a while and then look back up, just scanning to see for any danger, and then go back down to feed on, any plant really. Now they're just grooming themselves. But yeah, on Ngala, mostly lion, leopard. I've never seen, actually now that I'm thinking about it, I've never seen wild dogs attack ostrich, but we don't really see ostrich too often. But I can imagine a pack of wild dogs will try get to it as well. But it is a big animal, and like I said, a dangerous animal. And actually very, very quick. They run, I think it's about 60 kilometers an hour. Very, very fast. For something on 2 legs, it's a lot faster than I am. It's funny how both of them will feed at the same time, and then both of them will start grooming at the same time. Maggie, I don't think there's a rule to it. Like you see here, we often see male ostriches together. I think there would be an issue if there was a female close by. Then I can imagine they would start fighting with one another for mating rights. But other than that, always there's a better chance for survival if there are more of you. It's like seeing male impalas together. I can promise you none of them like each other, but it's just safer to be in a group. I just find it weird that the one decides to groom, so the other one also grooms, and the one would decide to feed, and so both of them feed. You clean your feathers. Was that a yawn? Yeah, what a cool animal. You can actually see the top of the leg now. Very powerful. Big, strong legs. I wouldn't want to be chased by one. One on the right's almost puffed up now. Its wings spread out like that. Well, no, so, ostriches are known to be territorial, but around here, I must say, because we don't really see them too often, I don't think we have a territorial male on Ngala. And that's why, 2 of them here are together. Anyway, we'll let them be. Let them groom. We continue up into the Timbavati, and then we'll send you back to Mike. Hopefully he graces us with the answer of the St. Mark discussion.
So I heard from the other guides, there's some theories. Civet is coming up quite a lot. And I've heard from some of the viewers as well. Civet is also one of the things that we're thinking this might be. And just to give an idea of how strong the scent is. Now, my sense of smell is not particularly strong, I would say. It's pretty good. I'm sitting here, the wind is even blowing from behind me going that way, and I can smell it from here fairly clearly, this sort of perfumey, fragrant smell. So if I go close, it's very strong. And imagine an animal with its very, very well-developed olfactory senses, how far they'd be able to smell this from. So this is definitely a territorial type of scent mark. Now, I did a bit of a quick reading, and from what it says is a civet scent mark, when it's fresh and very abundant, like that what you would collect, let's say in a lab or something, has a very putrid, almost fecal smell, nauseating, not pleasant at all. But if it's diluted or as it fades, the smell becomes quite radiant and floral, and it's very rich, and that's the thing that they want in the perfumes, because it helps to even out perfumes. Now, judging by the height, judging by what I've heard from other guides and from you as the viewers, and from what I've read, I think we can safely assume that this is almost certainly the scent mark of a civet. Now, I've got further evidence that might lead us to this conclusion. So not only does it smell super great, but just over here on the road, I found some fairly fresh, not very fresh, but some fairly fresh civet tracks. Okay, right over there. Now, I know this is a civet because the track is larger than my thumb. Generally speaking, a track that's larger than a thumb, but not so big, that's a civet. And there's another track that's just behind it. So that's the civet there. Just over here, there's a different track. That's a genet. Okay, so the genet track is generally smaller than a thumb. So there's a small little thing. You can see it's actually, well, maybe I'm actually smaller than my thumb. So, civet walking away from the area of the scent might have smelt something. A genet might have smelt something, but the civet is what I think. With everyone's comments and with a bit of research, plus this piece of extra evidence, I'm pretty sure this is a civet scent, which is amazing because, it's well known that civets have this perfume that has been extracted for, hundreds of years by humans. But it's the first time I've ever smelt the scent mark of one. I've never seen one so clear as that. So I'm glad that we've managed to come to to a reasonable conclusion. Until we see the animal, until we've got, let's say, a civet expert that would say, definitely, you're 100% right, we can only have an educated guess. And we've done a bit of research, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is. Nothing in nature, I shouldn't say nothing, but most things in nature are not set in stone. We've often seen animals doing things that we say just before, no, they don't do this kind of thing, and then they will do that thing. And you just feel a bit silly, because obviously in the books it doesn't say they do that. What was I watching the other day? I think I was watching an Egyptian goose, actually live on the show, and I was saying, no, Egyptian geese mostly feed on aquatic vegetation and plants. And then what happened? Right on the screen in front of me, it plucked a frog from the water and devoured it right in front of me. And I said, well, I think it accidentally ate that frog, because they're not meant to do that. So we can only assume, but I think our assumption is good. Civet scent mark. Wonderful.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, Wild Earth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So Wild Earth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the wire snares that we collect on a monthly basis. And this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
So we left the 2 male ostriches who were getting along just fine. And remember I was saying that even with impala, they don't like each other, but they'll stick around with each other. And then we found these 2 males fighting. For now, just tuning each other, saying words, but not really going at each other just yet. As we got here, as we stopped, they went full-on horn clashing. Now it looks like the one at the back is backing down. And of course out of sight. But they look phenomenal. I mean, both of them in very good condition. I love when they make that gargling noise. It's just really not something you'd expect from an antelope like this. Dainty, small impala. Just make the weirdest noises. They're quite aware of what's going on around them, and they need, they need to be very quick to react to each other as well. I think the rustling in the grass gives it away quite quickly. But of course they are always going to go behind a bush when we're trying to show them fighting. Bit of a nightmare. The rutting season. But those horns can do some damage. We have quite a couple of, or I've seen quite a couple of impalas here that lost one eye just because of fighting. See the one on the left-hand side is advancing quite quickly. Definitely the winner of these two. Anyway, that's a very big bush. I don't think we're going to see them again. Let's carry on our route into the Timavati River. It's taking us quite a while to get there, but it's good fun. Actually quite excited to check the river. It's been a while since we've seen New Zulu female or either of the youngsters. So it'll just be interesting to see tracks crossing in and out of the river to know where they are, if they've been here or if they haven't. But then we'll take a slow drive there and just check all the trees as well. See if there's any sign of a carcass. It's really not warming up today. I think now it might even be a bit colder than it was earlier this morning. Not too many predator tracks, only hyenas. You could really drive any road on Ngala and you will find hyena tracks. Very good, strong population. Just need to find the always drive here and I think, okay, that tree would be perfect for a leopard, that tree would be perfect for a leopard, that tree would be perfect for a leopard, and we never see leopards here. Okay, so while we continue our search, we're going to send you back over to Mikey, who's still walking around.
Right, round number 2. I'm not going to... now, this one is not as fragrant as the other one was, unfortunately. This is another type of scent mark. I'm not sure exactly what type of scent mark this is, but there is other evidence here which can tell us what it might be. So, dark patch on the ground here, definitely where an animal has been pasting. Next to it, a small pile of very old, dry pellet of some sort. Now it's full of fur, small grey fur, something that looks like it might have come from a rodent. In fact, it definitely came from a rodent. Small fragments of bone, and then something which is very distinctive. This rather large scale over here is the belly scale of a small snake, I believe. It's the only thing I can think of that would have a scale long and rectangular like that. And then over here there are more pellets, small-ish pellets. I suspect that this scent mark over here on the road, again not far from the last one we saw, is from a mongoose of some sort. Maybe a larger mongoose, something like a white-tailed mongoose, which is quite an unusual animal. We don't see them very often, and they're purely nocturnal, and they're often alone. Now, the road, as you can see, this area here, it's got lots of gravelly sort of ground, very sandy, not easy to see a track here. But as we walk, if we walk further up here now, these animals, white-tailed mongooses, will hunt for rodents and they'll catch snakes. As you know, mongoose are very, very agile, and they'll catch snakes, and they'll often walk along the road listening for things scurrying in the grass and then pounce on them to catch them and eat them. So I can only assume that this is probably a white-tailed mongoose scent mark, or a sort of a small midden. I can see more dung pellets just over here, older ones inside the grass as well. So it often uses this spot, and this is more than one time scent marking on this rock. Why would it scent mark on a rock? Probably because it's more long-lasting. If it's scent marked in the soil here, you know, as animals walk and as wind blows, the soil gets moved around, it dries up very quickly. Whereas on this rock, at least it stays a little bit more stable for a longer time. That's interesting how the civet would scent mark higher up at its nose level, and this animal would scent mark a bit lower down, maybe because they also have their noses to the ground. Today is a whodunit morning. Who pooed? What can I say? Oh, wow, the scent is strong. The wind just blew a little bit of a breeze, and I just got a whiff of it. It smells more like, I was asking Alexa, she's got a very good palate. She said it smells more like cat hair or something like that. It's really not a pleasant smell, you know. I mean, well, unless you like cat hair smell, in which case delicious. But it's not my favorite smell. It's very interesting, and you really can see in this fur here what it must have been eating. And this also gives us a hint. All the fur, it kind of looks like lint that comes out of the washing machine, but this color here, that sort of mottled black and grey, that's exactly what these little bushveld gerbils and mice look like. I mean, we have plenty of them that live in the roofs of our storerooms and things, and it looks just like this. So this was a mouse of some sort that was very unfortunate. Peter, that's an interesting one. Slender mongoose, yeah, it could also be a slender mongoose, I suppose. I don't know how... Yeah, I don't know how to distinguish... This is me purely spitballing. I think it's a mongoose. It could be a slender mongoose, which is kind of big-ish. It's much bigger than a dwarf mongoose, but slightly smaller than a banded mongoose. Definitely smaller than a white-tailed, about half the size. Brown snake eagle, Although there's a snake scale in there, a brown snake eagle would have much larger pellets. I've seen the pellet from a batelier, which is similar in size and has a similar diet, and that was a big thing. Maybe the size of 2 knuckles together, or even larger, this pellet, and it was filled with scales, just like this has a scale in it, and also lots of bones. This one here, I don't see the bones, perhaps because eagles, when they eat, they don't chew, right? They swallow completely down the whole thing, or at least chunks of it, and the bones will remain intact. That's why they have to regurgitate them. Whereas a mongoose with small, sharp teeth catching a small snake or a small rodent would be able to crunch those little bones up with their molars and with their carnassial shears, crunch it up into almost a fine powder, small enough that it might be able to digest. Or perhaps it would also regurgitate. I know cats do it sometimes. I don't know about mongoose, but certainly this is not a brown snake eagle, because you can see these small pellets all over here. Definitely fecal pellets, most certainly, not regurgitating pellets. And eagle dung is just like other birds' dung, usually just a liquid full of uric acid, that white sort of slimy stuff, plus a bit of the brown or green, which would be the actual digested food. But a nice assumption there, Peter. I mean, it could well be a slender mongoose, but definitely, in my opinion, not a bird of prey. Definitely not a bird of prey. There's no tree above it either, so if it was a bird of prey, it would have been sitting in a tree, defecating. And that's not the case. Oliver, I'm not sure that I understood the question correctly. You said, are scent marks usually done for territorial reasons? And yes, Oliver, if that was your question, definitely scent marking is almost certainly purely for territorial reasons. And sometimes also to advertise themselves to prospective mates, as is the case with impala middens. When they defecate all in one pile like that, it's not really a scent mark, but that scent can have a lot of information that's conveyed. They can know the age, relative testosterone levels, reproductive status of the females, if they're receptive, if they're in estrus, can convey a whole bunch of different things, even just simply male or female. So definitely, which is something that birds, I'm not sure. I don't think birds do that. Birds are territorial, but I don't think they're territorial using scent marks because they don't have a very well-developed sense of smell, not like mammals do, and reptiles as well, with the tongue that comes out for their Jacobson's organs. Right, well, whilst we move on from this and hopefully find more interesting scent markings to talk about this morning, I'm loving it, by the way, we'll send you over, I think, to Deirdre, who's got an active burrow.
An active burrow indeed. The rock stars are all up and at it. Still a little bit chilly. Every now and again they sit down, especially if the wind gusts. They're not as warm as normal. The little pups are struggling to even stay awake. They're always hard in the mornings when they haven't really woken up. Sometimes sitting there and then falling over as well. Only one busybody so far. If I didn't know any better, I'd almost say this alpha female in the front is pregnant again. Look at that little belly. That would be a surprise. It's a little bit early, but nothing's impossible. They can see something on the horizon there. I don't quite see what they're looking at, but lots of things will be moving. All the vegetation's moving quite a bit in this wind. You can even see it on their fur. quite a spread out group at this stage. Sarah's comment is, yay, the rock stars. It is indeed, they definitely huge value for us. You can just spend hours with them when they're playing like this. Whoops, he just fell in the hole. Oh, and he just knocked the other one in the hole. They're the only ones making a noise, those three. Gerald is asking the question, are they the largest mob in Tswalu? So from what I've counted and from what I've seen, no. There is another group, a wild group that's north of the lodge that we've counted 24 in total. So that's effectively double the number of what we're looking at here. There's 13 here in this group and 13 in our other group in the Makalas. But yeah, we have counted groups of 20, 24. When they're getting to around that size, if there isn't enough food in their area, then they do start considering splitting up. But if they're successful at that number, they'll happily stay at that number. It's more pairs of eyes to do sentry duty, so a group can be more successful. And it would also depend on the food availability in their area. If they've got really good food sources in their area, they can afford to sustain larger groups. If they're successful at raising the pups, that also counts. If there's less predators in their area, that will also count. But we can just watch over time as this Rockstar group expands, as she continues to have pups. If she has 5 and then 3, and she'll within a year or two, this group could also be that size. The one in the front's definitely more serious about sentry duty, whereas the rest are just having fun and games in the back. So we'll stick with him, and we're going to send you across to Pinder with some prison ponies.
We've come down to this beautiful floodplain here in the south of the reserve, and we're hoping for some grazing animals, and we found some zebras. And just as you come to us, the sun is poking out behind the clouds that you saw there earlier. Beautiful lush green grass growing here. Beautiful grassland here next to us. There's even a herd of wildebeest that's further off to the left-hand side. So we've got the Munywana River that flows, or that runs through the whole of Phinda, and when it floods in the rainy season, and there's some flash flooding coming down, then the water flows out onto this floodplain here. Look at the white western cattle egrets that's coming to land on these wildebeests, coming to feed on the insects that they disturb in the grass and so. So you're the one sitting on top of the wildebeest back there. I'll see you're asking if cattle egrets are native to this area. Yes, they are. They do occur over most of southern Africa. Oh, there's actually a quite big flock coming in now that's coming towards the wildebeest there. Yeah, they coming in for landing. Let's see what happens. Big open grassland, lots of food obviously for wildebeest and zebras around here, but also a good place for them to keep a lookout around them for predators. It's nice and open, nice for them to spend the night here as well, which I'm sure they did, and there's lots of water around this area. See, there's a few females, but the one furthest on the right hand side there, there you can just see the horns are like still very straight, not bending upwards or anything like that. So that's a calf from the previous breeding season, which is around December, January here on Phinda. So that youngster is probably somewhere around 5-6 months old, somewhere around there. Incredible how quickly they can grow. Look at those two on the left hand side grooming themselves exactly the same way. Pretty sure you're asking if zebras make any noises and sounds. Yes, they do. They actually have quite a few different sounds they make. Sometimes alarm calling or calling each other, and they also make like the like sound that horses also make. I don't know what you call that sound. But yeah, they do communicate actually quite a bit with noises. And even these wildebeest that we see here, they also have a few different sounds. I don't know if you've ever heard of the other name for wildebeest, which is gnu, which is essentially the sound they make. Look at those cattle egrets, just staying very close to them, hoping for an insect to be disturbed out of the grass or so. having these cattle egrets around, I'm sure it's a good thing for these wildebeest as well, as these cattle egrets are extra set of eyes, each one of them, that can look out for predators. Quite beautiful, the contrast of the green grass, the darker wildebeest, and those white cattle egrets. You can see one or two hibiscus flowers in the background as well. But while we drive around this floodplain and see what else we can find, we'll send you off to somewhere else.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature. The Endangered Wildlife Trust fights at the forefront of conservation, across the vast Karoo and sweeping grasslands, in remote pockets of forest, along road networks, across African skies, and in communities to conserve our wildlife and wild spaces. Help us to protect forever, together. Donate now at ewt.org.za.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
So the little Rockstar family is scuttling off. They've moved from these front dens all the way to the ones at the back there. They'll probably do a little bit of maintenance there and then start heading out foraging. We also found another little visitor that popped out, a burrow shearer, a little ground squirrel. He's also just come out to warm up a little bit. They're often out much later than the meerkats, the ground squirrels, so we'll keep a lookout on that particular burrow. There might be one or two more ground squirrels that come out shortly, but he's the only one that's appeared. The meerkats, as soon as he came out, they all stared at him like he was a troublemaker, and yeah, it took him a couple of seconds and then they just ignored him and carried on. So cohabiting of a burrow system is not unusual, particularly with ground squirrels and meerkats. The ground squirrels are often the ones that actually start the burrow system, and the meerkats then just move in and modify it. some of the others that we've had before. We've had them sharing with Cape foxes, with bat-eared foxes, and even yellow mongoose. This one's the one on sentry duty. Olivia's asking the question, which other animals use a burrow system at Tswalu? So we'll start with probably the biggest burrow of the lot. It would be an aardvark. Then warthog often use aardvark burrows. Porcupine, pangolin, the Cape fox, jackal, bat-eared fox, meerkats. There are quite a lot of animals that will use burrows in the arid areas because there's lacking in any other type of home. There are also then caves in the mountains, which we know will suit the brown hyena as well as spotted hyena. Even the wild dogs, actually. The wild dog female that we are waiting to see if she's been successful with pups actually just went to a den site in an aardvark hole. So one single aardvark hole was good enough for a wild dog. And these burrows will go to at least 1 meter under the ground, and lots of interconnecting tunnels and chambers. And there may even be some that go a little bit further down. But around about 1 meter down, they keep a nice consistent temperature. Neil's comment is that they have the perfect posture. I think so. Almost, I think even a ballerina would be proud. Not quite on their tippy toes. And they do have the advantage of the support of their tail. Posture, of course, for the meerkats is also relative to the temperature, because when it's really cold, then they just almost sit down and hunch over if it is windy or cold. BK, the squirrels moved a bit, if you want to. So now you don't see just the back. He's also enjoying the sun. So we have seen some arguments between squirrels and meerkats before at these burrow systems, especially if they get here late afternoon and they're sort of sharing. We have seen them chase each other around a little bit. Probably just establish the who's who. Nothing aggressive. We've never seen them sort of actually attacking each other, but they do chase each other. And very often the meerkats win out because they've got the numbers, whereas the squirrels will be like 4 or 5, sometimes in some of these shared burrow systems. So they'll probably be moving on shortly. We're going to send you across to ROAN with a quick update.
Okay, so we are in the Timavati River and we are heading back east now. There were tracks of the New Zulu youngsters, both of them actually heading back in a westerly direction, but then up and north. Which then takes them to an area where it's nearly impossible to drive. And I think knowingly the New Zulu females kept them here for a long time because it is a secretive animal. So I mean, if a leopard is there and we can't really drive into that area, it's clever for them. But other than that, rather quiet morning on Ngala, to be honest. I drove past Nikki, saw his guests, asked them how their game drive was, and they said exactly the same thing. Rather quiet morning. But it's good, it keeps us humble. We need these every now and then. There are quite a few elephant tracks a little bit behind us, but then here it fades away. No elephants drinking here, which is it's quite interesting to see. So it means the water table there must be higher if they're digging for water there and not here. I think most probably we'll start to dig to over 1/2 meter here in the river to try get to water. Okay, so while we head east, we're gonna send you over to Mikey, who's still on bushwalk.
We certainly are still on a bushwalk, and we've come across a fairly interesting phenomenon, which happens infrequently in nature, but not impossibly, as we're about to find out. So what we've got here is some sort of albizia or a false thorn that has been damaged and pushed over sort of by an elephant at some point in its life. And in the process of an elephant pushing it over or maybe rubbing against it, you can see there's a bit of dirt over here. That's from an animal now after mud wallowing coming to rub against it. And you can even see it if I get my magic wand out. You can even see over there on this tip of this piece of wood here, a bit of mud. Now what's happened, as you can see, there's grass growing in here. When the elephant or whatever animal was rubbing itself here, some of that mud accumulated in this crevice here. And in doing so, maybe a bit of grass seed got in there as well, and it's managed to germinate. Now you can see this tree tried to put out little shoots over here, all over here. This is part of the tree, and they've been completely consumed by caterpillars, who in turn have left their droppings, which is known as frass, in this area, creating even more nutritious soil environment for more grasses and things to grow. This is a very good example of something that we know as primary succession. An area has been colonized which previously had no life at all. It could not sustain life in here, or it couldn't sustain grass anyway. There was no soil, it was just dry, hard wood. And by an elephant coming and rubbing here, they put soil down, which then created this cycle. And as this grass dies, it will regrow again next year from some of the seeds, and it will keep creating a better and better habitat. It's really cool to see. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever be able to, but if you would come back here in a few years' time and see what different type of plant community now lives here, it would be very interesting. Grass seeds are mostly spread by wind, I'm sure. Well, mechanically, but wind is one of the main ways, and they're certainly pollinated by wind here in southern Africa. So it's even possible that on the termite mound that Glenn is standing on right now, some grass seed got blown in the wind and ended up in here. But it's so cool to see it in here. And the frass is incredible. I mean, you can't see it clearly from where you are, but it's really just like I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'm just dropping it out my fingers here. This frass is just absolutely chocked full of nutrients. They've eaten all these leaves here, and they've allowed this area to become highly nutrient rich. And there's even dung. I don't know, you said you could see it before, Glenn. Just over there. I don't know if you could see that. I'll move it up. There's some dung or scat of something that looks like a civet maybe that climbed up along the edge here and on top of this tree. So it's a little micro habitat that's developing here, which I think is super spectacular. Well, another place which has spectacular habitats is Phinda, and we'll send you there right now.
We just went off a little bit further and found another herd of wildebeest here, and it is so peaceful and quiet here with the crickets. So I think let's just sit and listen for a moment. Ingrid, you are asking if whether or not wildebeest have a mating season. They do indeed, and they all drop their calves on Phinda around January, maybe end of December, January, somewhere around there. And that is around and about the middle of the rainy season here where we are, so lots of new grazing and grass for the mothers to produce their milk. sit and enjoy the peace and quiet around the floodplain here, we're going to send you over to Ngala where they've got a big herbivore.
I'm chewing on some leaves now. You just see, it was actually quite nice. He stretched his trunk up, then grabbed a piece of this jackalberry that he's feeding on now. There were 3 males, one very young, but then this is the largest one. And then further off in the distance, probably about 300 meters further, there's a massive male standing underneath a tree. So once we leave this one, we'll probably go join that one, because I think this one's just going to start heading up the bank soon. So the bum of it. It's funny, there's it now has started to drizzle. Quite late in the season. Didn't expect rain this time of year. Though it's been quite a funny year. There he goes up the bank. Paul, can you see the other one? Yeah, straight there. Looks quite a bit bigger. We'll actually get a bit closer to that one. Paula, majority of South Africa actually falls under a summer rainfall season. So this could be anywhere from November up until March. But then Cape Town has a winter rainfall season. So it should be raining now in Cape Town and not on Ngala. But like I said, it's been a funny year. Just gonna go slowly past it. He's already flapped his ear at us. Quite a big bull. He's got his one tusk, his right hand tusk is broken off. It could be from fighting, could have been from, stripping bark from a tree. But now it's just frozen. He's trying to sniff something, so I can see his trunk is still moving. Probably trying to figure out what plant he wants to eat. There we go, straight into the sparkthorn thicket. Why not? It's amazing. If we were driving past now, even though he's right next to us, we wouldn't have seen him. Where he's just standing still. Okay, we're going to go join that very large elephant. Since he's more out in the open, this one's just got his bum sticking out from the sparkthorn thicket. Here's the other young male that we saw first. All of these just males join up in a little bachelor crew. And gently feeling around for anything to eat. Also, by doing this, he'll be able to pick up our scent. So often they do this, is they almost fake eating to try suss us out, see if we are any sign of danger or any threat to them. They'll just carry on from there. Now the drizzle has stopped. No more rain, Paula. Nothing to worry about. We are back to normal. Okay, we're going to head on to the other elephant. See what he's up to. Could hear him breaking a branch. It's quite a loud snap, especially in the riverbed, because the snap will echo down. Well, the sun's still trying to pop through. Almost seems like the cloud is now getting thicker. Probably where the drizzle came from. 2 young impalas fighting just in front of the elephant as well. This should be quite fun to watch. There's a vulture flying over now. So they're busy building nests and also mating at this stage. It's actually quite fun. You could sit in the river and you'll just have vultures flying to and fro the nests, to dried branches or to another tree and just picks branches from there. Honestly, I hope this elephant's in a good mood. If he's in a bad mood, we're a bit slow in the riverbed. So we're not going to approach too closely. But from further back, he looked like a big male. And actually, there we go. Actually, close now. He's got beautiful tusks. So he did break a branch. You can actually see him chewing on it now. So what he's trying to do is he'll break this branch off and actually just eat the outer layer of it. So you might see in a bit that he's going to use his trunk and take that stick out of his mouth. Or just eat the entire thing. The beautiful tusks on him. A lot longer than the others. Jackson asking how long do elephant bulls usually stay in must for? So Jackson, this depends on their age. So as they get older, the musty condition stays around for longer. So I think this guy, he looks quite a bit older than the other elephants that we pass. So when he's in must, he'll actually be in must for a lot longer than the last elephant that we passed, the younger one. Luckily for us, though, he's not in must. If he was, you'd see it on the side of his temples. You'll see the secretions going down. You'd also be able to smell him. And, of course, if we did smell him, I would let you know straight away. But this guy's not in must. He's just relaxing, just feeding along the riverbed. So gently flapping his ears every now and then to try to cool himself down. He's still chewing on the same stick. It's got like a... looks like there's liquid coming out of his eye from his tear duct. Like a whitish liquid. Juju saying what nice tusks they have. I agree, especially this one. Very, very long. Beautiful specimen. So this, of course, all has to do with genetics as well. So if the mom or dad had nice tusks, then probably this one would have nice tusks. They're not very thick, I must comment, but they're nice and long. He looked a lot bigger from further down in the river, but he's not, in size-wise, he's not really that much bigger than the first one we had. Oh, there's some banded mongoose crossing the river just in front of us. Oh, they're just a little bit too quick. Saw the movement, and then of course there's a bit of a sandbag. There they go, just hopping along. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. I worked in a rehabilitation center in Natal for a little while before I started guiding, and we had banded mongoose there, and they like eggs, so every morning we had to feed them eggs, but then you don't break the eggs for them, you just give them an egg. And it was hilarious to try to watch them try to break these eggs. So what they would do is they'd actually use their front paws and then throw it in between their legs onto a hard surface and have it crack like that. Like every elephant we're watching just wants to disappear behind spikethorn thickets. I always found it very peaceful just to sit with elephants, majority of the time. When they are in must, it's not exactly like that. I think Marcus had a little incident with a musty bull chasing him the other day. It's always rather fun. So it's quite nice from this angle. You actually see the indentations in his temple, and they're rather deep. So there's quite an old bull. Okay, so we'll While he disappears into that spike-thorn thicket, I think we might just head on a little bit further east in the Timavati River.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Just bumbling along. The weather is still quite icy cold. It's actually got colder because now there's a little bit of a breeze. We know whenever Cape Town has cold fronts, a couple of days later we get that really, really cold weather. Little animals, if they're getting cold like this, will stay huddled up. Well, there's some cave turtle doves, provided they don't fly away, which is exactly what they've just gone and done. So Paul is asking the question, which animals are less likely to be out in this weather? So animals like, we're starting to get that the bat-eared foxes are coming out a little bit earlier, but if it's cold like this, they'll stay in their burrow. Nocturnal animals, of course, will stay in their burrows. The jackal are not necessarily as active. Even hyenas and some of those animals are less likely to move if it's quite chilly, because moving costs energy, and if they're not replacing it, they're losing it, whereas if they remain in small space and don't move around too much, they actually save energy. So VK has noticed a whole big journey of giraffe. It's probably the... Tell me if you want me to go forward. Yeah. Okay. There is quite a big journey, so we've got lots of giraffe to pick from. So we'll just see where we're going to get the best view through the trees. I think beyond the bush, says BK, beyond the bush, maybe in that gap. That one there, it's a little bit backwards, but there's four. Four that hopefully don't walk out the shot, because we're right next to a thicket. There's mostly youngsters. Those are all the three that are walking past. That's a female. So the giraffe really can't hide in this kind of weather either, so they just carry on feeding, but sometimes they'll stay on the non-windy side of the bush, which is exactly where those two are standing. But not anymore. I think we'll move forward again. Just, oh, there are loads. Maybe this gap here. 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. I'm just trying to see where we're going to get the best view. They're just far enough away that the angle is very crucial for BK and the camera. Maybe there's, I don't know, yes, no? You're just seeing necks all over the place in the blackthorn thickets. If they continue to move in that direction, there's a possibility we can take one of the other roads and get a bit closer. It is quite a big journey. So we're going to see if we can get you a better view of these giraffe. We're going to, in the meantime, send you to Mike in Pridelands.
So we've come all the way back towards Ndlovu Dam to look at another scent mark, but now when we're at the scent mark, we've found this really awesome iridescent little insect. This is called a cuckoo wasp, and as the name suggests, it's a parasite. Just like cuckoos laying their eggs in the nests of other birds, this wasp will often lay its eggs, or in fact always lays eggs, in the the nest of other wasps. So where other wasps will make a hole, or even other wood-boring insects make a hole in a wood like this wasp will come along, find its way into the hole, lay its own egg in there, and its egg will then eat both the larvae of the other wasp or insect and whatever food is provided for it, such as a spider or a caterpillar. Cuckoo wasp, and you can see a beautiful green iridescence, not very active right now because it's very, very cold. Not very cold, but cold enough. But it's really spectacular. I wonder what it's doing. It's not, normally I would say it would be looking for a place to lay its egg, but this one is just literally sitting dead still on this branch. Great colors and contrast against this very dark wood. And it's definitely cold because it's not moving at all when I come very close to it, and it's amazingly spectacular. In the sun would be even brighter. It's probably just staying very still, trying not to lose body warmth. It's doing a strange thing with its leg as well. It seems to be tapping its leg to a kind of a beat. I don't know if it's doing it with the other leg as well, but it's definitely tapping away. Now they can fly. They've got wings, and there are different species, sometimes with different colors. This one is iridescent green, which also has a slightly blue tinge to it on the abdomen. But you get some which are almost completely blue in color, and I've sometimes even heard them referred to as zombie wasps, because some of the species will actually lay their egg inside the body of a prey of some sort, and the host will then walk around and sort of be zombified and start acting in a strange way before the larvae then bursts out or consumes it. I'm not sure if this is the exact species, but it's pretty cool. But in any case, this insect is awesome, but the real reason we came here was for this dark scent mark patch that's just over here. Now, once again, we're not sure what it is, but it's the reason we've been focusing on scent marks today, because this morning we came here, and the first thing Alexa did when you see a strange liquid substance lying anywhere, she stuck her finger directly into it and said, what's this thing? Is it ash? And it's certainly not ash. It's some sort of scent mark from an animal. But what it's doing this high, what animal it could have been, I don't know. I see a claw mark here, which is the claw mark of a much larger animal. I don't know what could have made this, but you can really see. The other thing it could be is something that came from like damage in the tree here, but this has been like this for a long time, and it's the first time I've seen it like this before, with this sort of liquid coming out. I don't know what it could be though. I'm going to do like Alexa. Put a little bit on my fingers. You can see it's like a really dark substance. Oh, it's also sweet though. It also has a sweet smell. I don't know if you got that, Alexa. I think it also has a honey-like fragrance. Leah? It's a good question. I suppose they probably do scent mark in some way. They are in the rodent family, and rodents often paste and scent around their little burrows, or at least they urinate around them and they smell really strongly. I suppose it could be a squirrel, if that's what you're suggesting, but I'm not 100% sure, Leah. Good question. I'll have to do a bit more research, I think. Squirrels do a lot of things that people don't realize. You know that squirrels are in the rodent family, so they also eat sometimes insects and other creatures like that. Not just seeds and nuts like we assume when we think of squirrels, stashing nuts away for winter. They consume a whole range of different things. Still looking at this cuckoo wasp sitting dead still here. It's one little jewel. Very similar to jewel beetles that we also get here, which now at this time of year are hiding away, for the most part remaining hidden from predators and also from the worst of the weather. It's not the ideal time for them to be proliferating or breeding, because there's not much food for them around. So we are at Ndlovu Dam. For those of you who are wondering, we've done a big loop. As you can see, we've come back to the dam. Very still, very quiet. When we first started walking over there, we did have a few elephants at the water's at the water's edge, but it seemed to have moved off. And now we've just got a few impalas that are right at the back there, but nothing else at the moment. So we've got a dam, and Rowan's got a riverbed. Let's send you over to him to join him on his little bumble.
Yeah, and I'm still thinking about Mike's question about the scent marking. A sweet perfume, honey-like scent, 40 centimeters above the ground. So I'm leaning towards honey badger, because often what they do is, majority of animals, when they scent mark, they'll lift their tail and then almost scent mark upwards. But I really sincerely hope it's not a honey badger, because otherwise, Mike, you have to get your nostrils tested. They might be broken. So I'm still waiting for the answer on that one. Should be quite interesting. And other than that, still very empty, very quiet in the Timbavati riverbed. But it is a nice drive. The best thing about this is I don't really even have to drive, so often I'll just turn around, chat to Mpo, use my hands. The car just sticks to the two-track, which is nice. So whenever we're feeling lazy, we'll just come drive the riverbed. Which probably I shouldn't say that, because I'm in the riverbed quite a bit. But it's a beautiful drive, especially with the larger trees along the sides, along the banks. This is an easy way to pick up tracks. There's a beautiful rocky section coming up. Tyler, we have 17 kilometers of the Mavati riverbed that we can traverse, and now we can actually drive the entire thing. When I just started here in 2014, 2015, there was a section of the river that we couldn't drive because the previous owner's house was on the northern bank, and so he didn't want a two-track going in front of his house. Yeah, and so he had a girlfriend that still lived in Cape Town, and she visited every now and then. So he died in 2001, but then she, I think, ended up passing away in 2016. And then once she passed away, we could actually drive that section of the river. But there was actually a ranger here that forgot about the rule. So then I think they found lions or maybe a leopard in the river in front of the house, and he drove towards there. And then he called it in on the radio, and then another ranger asked, "Wait, confirm you are here and here in front of this house?" And he said, "Yes, yeah, you can make your way." He said, no, you're in trouble. So he had to actually go back and rake about 200 meters of tire track in the riverbed, just to make sure there are no tire tracks in front of that house. But of course, now we can drive the entire 17 kilometers of the pristine Mavati riverbed.
So we were just discussing, using magnifying glasses in the bush and getting close to stuff. And, we get the students to do this all the time. We're filming through a binocular right now to get really up close to this little cuckoo wasp. And it's amazing. Look at the detail on the thing. Look at the colors, the textures. It's incredible. It's amazing what you can do with a pair of binoculars. They're not just for looking at things far away, but also for giving you so much more detail on the close-up stuff. Spectacular. When was the last time you filmed through a binocular to look at an insect? It's crazy. We were talking about different attachments you could get for a camera and how expensive and difficult they are. Well, this is a much more sustainable alternative.
Move it around a little bit. Let's just see.
Where must I move it? Up or down?
Up a little bit towards you, to the right, to the eyeball. Yeah, a little bit more.
How's that? We're just maneuvering the binocular now just to see if we can get different angles.
That is crazy.
Joy from Hong Kong. I'm glad you're loving it because we're loving it too. This is what bushwalks are all about getting up close and personal to all this cool stuff. It's things that you would never see on a game drive necessarily, because you're obviously focusing on bigger, more charismatic mammals and birds and moving from place to place. So it's really spectacular that we get to see cool stuff like this, Joy. Glad you're enjoying it. We're going to do lots more cool stuff. We've just discovered a whole new world of filming opportunities. Oh, the botany we could do. Crazy. I'm glad that you're all enjoying it. It's really crazy. So if we actually zoom out, you'll see what I'm doing now. Like if I can ask Glenn to move back for us, I'll show you. It's literally just a pair of binoculars held the wrong way, so like looking at it through the objective lens. You get close to it and you can really see the detail through there. Oh, now I'm making Glenn's life a bit difficult now to try and refocus it. But it's really awesome to see that we can do this now. We've just discovered, I feel like I've just leveled up. We've just leveled up our bushwalk skills. This is actually thanks to Alexa. Alexa has donated her binoculars kindly to us to be able to do this. Lana, absolutely. Lana, we have discovered a latent talent, an ability, thought lost for generations, rediscovered right here on Pride Lands. Now we need to figure out a way that we can actually create some sort of a harness that can clip directly onto the front of the camera. I can't believe this insect. We're so close to it and it's not even moving at all. It must be really cold. I mean, I just took my fleece off, but I'm also feeling like, maybe it was a bit soon for that.
That's crazy.
I love listening to Glenn's really enjoying himself. Yeah, this is super important. Even for plants, we can get up close to them with these binoculars like this, so we can really show students things like velvety hairs or little pits or holes in the leaves. We can look up close to things like spiders. Even just to look at a feather, to show you the structure of hooks and barbs on a feather. It's really, really the most useful tool. I mean, I think most guides, in fact, I would go out to say almost every single guide in Africa will say that a good pair of binoculars is the #1 tool that you need in your arsenal as a guide. If you go out without binoculars, you're basically doing yourself a disservice because there's so much stuff that you can do with them. And it's the #1 thing I would say to any viewer who's thinking of coming on a safari, maybe joining one of us on a bushwalk or a game drive with Wild Earth. It's the #1 thing I think you should bring is a good pair of binoculars. Don't forget to sign up to the Wild Earth Explorers, where you could, get a chance to maybe come and join us on one of these activities. It would be super cool to have you. Well, from this awesome little discovery that we just made, we'll send you over to Deirdre at Tswalu.
I'm going to show you one of the last ones for the season. He's eating a portion of one of the others, actually. So this is an armored ground katydid. We've had our first frost, so this is the diehard of what's left. We'll call him Bruce. There are very, very few left now. They won't make the next frosts, but this one's having a good munch on his companion that didn't make it in the road. But they have got incredibly long antennae. It was amazing how it sensed that I was there. And even they don't like the cold. So unfortunately, the first 1 or 2 cold snaps, the next couple of frosts, most of these won't make it through the season, but they have bred, they've laid eggs already, ready for the next summer rains. And next year, if we have rains like we had this year, we will have these once again in abundance. So, used to be called armored ground crickets, and now they call them katydids because they can't actually jump like crickets. They don't fly either. They're just quite creepy. Most people that live at Tswalu don't enjoy them too much. They can climb up curtains, and you find them in some really strange places. So if an animal approaches them, like a meerkat, for example, if they approach them from the side, these armored ground katydids will actually release like a liquid, but it's known as hemolymph. It's almost like their own body fluids. They'll squirt that out of little openings on the side, and it's quite a sticky repellent. And then very often they get left alone. But also if the meerkats are coming close, they actually make sort of a little bit of like a squeaking sound. And sometimes that's also enough to repel the meerkats. Horseliver's comment is, Bruce the munching cricket. Yeah, Bruce is quite hungry. Bruce is stocking up. They are quite something. If you actually look at them in detail, they are quite amazing with their little armored body shield. Charlie is asking the question, are these the largest cricket species we guessed here? Yes, they are. And we got them this year in abundance. After the rains, it was just in their thousands. And they start really, really tiny, almost like the size of your little thumbnail. And then as they grow, they get to about this size. And this isn't even the biggest one. They can get bigger than this particular one that's on my hand. Actually see it swallowing, like eating bits of his friend. Yeah, so when it's incredibly hot during the day, we'll see them, they climb up into the tops of the trees. Even at night when it's getting really cold, they go higher up for where it's warmer. But there's definitely getting less and less of them. And you do hear them sort of making a little a noise every now and again. Bless you, BK. BK is struggling with a little cold this morning. I think I'm going to put our friend Bruce down. He can carry on eating his breakfast. Off you go. Oh, no, he doesn't want to let go. He's too much, my friend, now. There we go. Bruce, on his way. Good luck to you, Bruce. Hope you make the next frost. And let's see. Just make sure Bruce is out the way. So we're just going to see what's around the next corner.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions. Join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
got some impalas here in some nice long grass. Just came around the corner seeing if we can find some other animals. And we found quite a big herd of females, all clumped together. We're looking a little bit skittish when we got here, but there were some warthogs close by, and I think they maybe just had a bit of a fright from the warthogs. All like starting to feed a little bit and move around. They are disappearing though. It looks like they're heading off towards the right hand side where they are following their ram that is in control of the herd at the moment. Lots of females together, probably in estrus, hoping that the ram will mate with them soon. We are getting towards like the end of the rutting season here on Pinda, it seems. Grass seems very long where they are right now. You can see how they all got their heads up and just looking around. There's a slight breeze blowing, so they're just keeping an eye out around them. There's some areas with shorter grass, and I'm sure they're probably heading in that direction. See the big ram there. All listening to the right hand side there. There was a female leopard that's tracks crossed over this road earlier this morning that was found by other rangers. No, it seems like they've lost interest in whatever it was. Might just find that this ram is maybe looking around, making sure that there's no other rams coming closer to try and mate with his females that he's in control of. That female there on the left, you can see he is really keeping a listen out. Look at the rams like corralling the females back together. He'll try and keep them in a nice tight ball. See how he's walking with his head down low. He's just trying to keep them together because he does not want any of them to spread out over a large area, because then it will be more difficult for him to fight off other males and keep an eye out on them. I think we are going to keep on going and leave these impalas, then we'll send you over to Ngala.
So we are actually making our way back towards camp now. It's been a quiet morning, but it's fine. It was lovely to catch up with those ostriches and that big male elephant, beautiful tusks. But I think for this afternoon, what we'll end up doing is going more central parts and then further north and west, rather than head back south again. And Paul's really not a fan of the bumpy road. Neither am I, in all honesty. And we made a promise last night that we weren't going to do it again, and we did it again. So empty promises. Anyway, it was all good. So I think, yeah, we'll stick to that. Try to see if we can find another portion of Birmingham Pride rather than focus on the two white ones and their siblings. So as we drive back, we'll just have a quick look here. This is still the territory for Inyala female, and no one's really caught in fresh tracks of her at all. So I'm not too sure whether she's moved her den yet or whether she's still exactly in the same place. I've not even seen tracks of her babies yet. I saw the one baby once, but just a very brief glimpse. But it'd be nice to know exactly where she's moving. We had her tracks in camp, what was it, 2 days ago? So that's incorporated into her territory as well. And sometimes she'll mark her territory throughout the camp. Not that she's going to urinate on a tent, nothing like that. But she does stick to that area. Also for her, quite good hunting ground. But anyway, lovely having you guys on the morning safari, and we'll see you this afternoon.